Good afternoon and welcome to Markets Today. It's Friday, it's the day we take it down a notch and we catch up on what has been happening in financial markets, but most importantly, we give you a corporate profile. Today we cover KCB and then we take it to the streets because we want to hear what are people thinking about investments and how can we help them in terms of their investment journey. I'm your host, Mbithe Mwema. Always a pleasure to be with you, especially on Fridays. If you have been watching us, you know Friday is one of our better days, the most exciting day for us here at the team at Markets Today on Metropole TV. Before we start, our SMS line is 20146. I want you to pick up your phone, yani uchukue nangos. You tell us what's going on. What have you invested in this year? What returns have you made? Have you lost money? What has been the feedback and the process of investing? Let's discuss. Are you looking for investment options? Let's discuss. Guys, it's almost the end of the year. December is about to happen next week. What have you been doing? And if you haven't done anything, not to worry. Next year is as good a time as any to start. But before we get into that conversation, let's have a look at what was happening on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Yesterday, turnover jumped quite a bit. It was up slightly over 65 percentage points compared to the previous day. NCBA was the biggest trade of the day. It traded at a price of 23.5 shillings, all locally bought and locally sold. So very interesting trading there in terms of NCBA. It has been trading at the 23 shilling mark, came down to 20 shillings, went up slightly above 23, but yesterday 23.5, we did see a huge ticket cross at that level. Outside of that, let's take a look at what was happening to the indices, equity turnover, as well as who were the top gainers and top losers. By way of the equity indices, we will just be waiting for that to come up now, but you can see Ask Mbithe, that's the key theme for today because we want to hear your questions. I'm in finance. I have been working in finance for over 15 years. So when it comes to talking about finances, I would like to be able to share my experiences, my contribution in terms of just understanding where are you at. But over and above that, each and every single afternoon here on Markets Today, we are always engaging with captains of industry, decision makers, people who've invested, people who've made a good penny out of investing, people who have visibility of the options. So when you bring it to the Ask Mbithe, we are saying we want to bring all this knowledge and information, but we want it to matter to you. So get out your phones, 20146. That's the number I want you to give us a shout on. Send us an SMS or at Mbithe Mwema. I'm available on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If that doesn't work for you, I know you are following us at Metropole TV, so give us a shout as well. Now let's take a look at what was happening on the indices this particular day. That was Thursday. Yesterday, the indices were slightly up. All share was down 0.05 percentage points to close the day at 143.98. NSE 20 share, a bit of weakness there. It was down 9 percentage points to 1,781. NSE 25 share, 3,267.31. That's where it closed at. Let's take a look at turnover, which was up compared to the previous day. We have been tracking turnover for the month of November, just to give you a sense of what is happening. So we have it there at the tail end of the week, which was yesterday, Thursday. 529 million was the value of the turnover that was traded. That was slightly higher than the previous day, where we had 323.6 million traded. The key trade yesterday for our local investors were trading a huge ticket on NCBA Group. Let's see who are the key contributors when it comes to turnover. That's the next graphic that's coming up on your screens as we speak. As I had mentioned, a huge ticket went through NCBA Group, 7.3 million shares traded at an average price of 23.5 for a cumulative turnover of 171.7 million. NCBA Group has come down to a level of 20 shillings per share. Now it's straddling at 23.5, and this particular trade was driven on both sides in terms of the sellers and the buyers were all local investors buying it at 23.5 shillings per share. Safaricom still trading at 32 shillings per share. 2.95 million shares trading over the day for this particular stock. KCB, negligible volume, 1.5 million shares at a price of 37.8. When it comes to KCB, yesterday we did give you a heads up that this company will be buying two particular assets that are owned by Atlas Mara. In Rwanda, they will be buying 62.6% of BPR. BPR is the equivalent of cooperative in terms of it operates at the very ground level, looking at SACCOs, looking at cooperative groups to be able to offer banking services to them. And then if you cross the border and go over to Tanzania, they will be buying 100% of the Africa Banking Corporation. Both assets owned by Atlas Mara. Atlas Mara had been accumulating Pan-African assets, did not quite turn these assets around to make them profitable, and has been, over the last couple of months, exiting its positions. Why would KCB buy these assets, you ask? Well, KCB already has operations in these countries, but at times when you buy an asset, it sort of helps you scale up much faster than it would be if you had actually taken an organic route. Equity Group at 35.5, holding steady with 1.6 million shares traded, and then BOC Kenya 371.5, that's the average price, with 141,800 shares traded. For this particular one, we had flagged this yesterday. Kabasset will be buying 100% of the entire holding for this particular stock. We have seen now the movement in BOC in terms of shares, 141,800 shares traded. On the flip side, Kabasset was one of the top gainers yesterday on the back of this headline news. Let's take a look at what were the other trades that we saw yesterday on the NSE. By virtue of volume, NCBA Group was the largest mover, 7.3 million shares traded. KenGen also saw a big ticket come through, 2.9 million, almost 3 million shares traded. Safaricom, 2.9 million. Equity Group, 1.6 million shares. And KCB Group, 1.56 million shares. Let's see who are the top gainers and who are the top losers on the day. The top gainers list there, we have a bit of movement from the small caps, but the material one that you want to look at is the number 3 line there. That's Kabasset, which was up 8.61 percentage points to close the day at 9.84. Yesterday, information came through from Kabasset in terms of a material announcement that it has put in an intent and shared this intent with BOC Gases to acquire 100% of the holding of this company. On the back of this news, we did see the share hit an almost 10% gain over the day to close at 9.84. And a week earlier, this company had announced very strong numbers for its full year. And over and above that, given its existing shareholders a sweetener by virtue of a 0.7 shilling payout in terms of dividend per share. That's about 7% return if you are an existing holder for this company. Let's take a look at who the top losers were over the day. We did see Standard Group lose ground there, up now down 9.88 percentage points to close the day at 22.8. The other notable one was Kenya Power, which lost ground 7 percentage points down to close at 1.46 shillings per share. That's pretty much what was happening yesterday on the NSE. We take a quick break. When we come back, we will be talking about KCB Group. Do you know who this company is? Are you a shareholder? Let's take a look when you do a corporate deep dive. Over and above that, you know, hii show ya Friday ni show yako. If you are an investor, you want to be an investor, you are thinking about building a business, this is your show. There's no good time to invest as today. If you don't even have the money, invest in terms of acquiring the knowledge. That's why we are here. So take out your phone, 20146, hiyo ndio nangos yetu. Tupigie simu, unataka kujua nini? Unataka ujua nini ndio ukae rada? What do you want to know so that you can be able to invest? When we come back, I want us to talk about KCB. Then we take another break. We come back. We take it to the streets. Let's talk about SACCOs. How do you start investing in SACCOs? What returns are in SACCOs? Money market funds and anything when it comes to investments. Lakini sitaki kujiongelesha. I need to hear your voice. Whether it's the SMS line, whether it's at Metropole TV, whether it's at Mbithe Mwema, you know we are here. We are listening. We want to engage with you and hear your investment success stories, your investment sad stories so that we can be able to grow together and get better. Let's see you after the break.